Hello, and welcome to the Realigned Journey, the unfiltered guide to self discovery and reconnection. I'm Sierra Sambrowski, your host, and together we'll deep dive the topics that have caused us to lose touch with ourselves and explore ways to reconnect to our true self. This season, we are talking to different guests and having them share their personal stories on something that happened that really pivoted and realigned their life. This week, I have with me KrystalLynn Star. KrystalLynn is an ascension guide, interdimensional healer, oracle, woman empowerment coach, and divine channel. She travels the world hosting retreats, spiritual pilgrimages, activating sacred sites, and offering her healing services. She is a gifted psychic and has the ability to read energy interdimensionally, allowing her to access a soul's original energetic blueprint for root cause healing and soul gift activation. Her mission is to empower and activate women to embody their divinity, voice, and soul gifts. Hello, KrystalLynn. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, thank you. I am so beyond excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited, and I love reading your intro because it sounds like you're doing some really freaking magical, deep shit. I told you before that I try not to swear, but sometimes I swear. Because that's what it is. A lot of times it's
Yes.
really uncovering and digging out and clearing out all the muck and the
hmm
mud that we are carrying in our beings, carrying in our stories that we tell ourselves. But I want to hear all about you and your journey today. So tell us, what was one of the most significant pivoting moments for you in your life that you feel like
Mhm.
really caused some kind of realignment for you?
Yes, so many moments, but I'll just reflect on what you were reading in the bio because as you were reading it, I've
Okay.
never had someone read back my bio to me. I always you write
Oh,
it and you send it out.
nice.
And
Yeah.
hearing it, I'm like, sounds really good. Like, wow. I
That's
wrote
really
that
good.
because honestly, for me, it's very challenging to put what I do into words. Sometimes it's
Mhm.
really difficult to just find the human words to encapsulate um all the energetics and all the magic and then all the soul gifts. So yeah, just that reflection alone was such a gift. Thank you.
You're very welcome. It's like I said, I thought it was really dynamic. Like even when I read it before we got on the show, when you sent it over to me, I was like, damn, that's some that's some magical shit right there. That's some good stuff.
I'll take that. I'll take that. And
Yeah.
honestly, this was not me 7 years ago at
Uh-huh.
all. Like none of these words existed anywhere in my energetic field or like my LinkedIn or any of that. And I was just writing a post this morning reflecting on the last 7 years of my life. And why seven is significant is because 7 years ago is when I quit my corporate job
Mm,
and decided to travel the world. And I would say that that's by far the most pivotal thing that has shifted my entire reality and really brought me into this soul realignment into who I am.
mhm.
I was living in New York. I had a great life. I literally had everything. I had the career, the apartment, the friends, the hobbies. And I was doing marketing for some really large corporations. I started a beautiful food and travel blog. And slowly, I just continued to feel unfulfilled and unsatisfied with all of it. Something didn't make sense. Something was missing. There was a lack of connection to myself. I felt like everything I had, everything that was in my life, were things that were outside of me, right? But then when
Mhm.
I looked inward and maybe asked the question, like, what do I like? What do I really want to do? Like, who am I? There was no answer. There was
Mhm.
nothing. There was radio silence.
Mhm.
And it got to a point where I'm like, I feel like that's not okay, like I want to know who I am. I want to have answers. I want to know my hobbies. Even when I wanted to quit my corporate job and I was like, what do I really want to do? Like, what would I do? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I also didn't have an authentic answer to that
Right.
either. Like, there was just nothingness. And then I realized that everything I had done in my life up until then was not really truly me.
Mm-hmm.
It was what my parents wanted, what society wanted, what I thought, I should do to be, the good girl, the successful girl, the one that had, the money. And everything I worked for was more or less out of fear. It was like, I want to survive. I want to have more money so I don't end up where my parents did. I want to, right? And none of it was coming from a place of like, oh, this would just be so incredible to do right now. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this is what I desire. This is what feels good. This is what activates me. This is what turns me on. Um, so that's when the journey started. It took me a while, over a year, to then build the courage to leave it all behind, all of it. I quit the job. I sold most of my things. I was down to just a few boxes. I took a backpack and I hit the road.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, that's incredible, and I got more questions for sure to ask about all
Yes.
that. Um, it is interesting because while my outward picture may have looked different than you, I can deeply relate to exactly the story you're sharing. And in fact, that's like the heart of so much of my clients and the work that I do was because I came from this realization that while the outside picture looks this way, like, I have clients that are high six figures and low seven figure clients, like, and they hit this point in a outwardly successful life and business, and they go, I couldn't tell you what my favorite color is.
Mm,
I I
yes.
truly feel lost, and it's really usually a lack of a connection to purpose and their sense of self, their real self, right? But they have never explored or uncovered or delved into who they really are and what they really want to do. And like you were saying, like they have not given themselves, I'm admittedly, I'm not great about it. Um, indulge in going, what would feel so good for me to do right now? And so I think your story and what's going to be so interesting for everybody to listen to is how did you move yourself out of that space, because I think there's so many people out there that can really deeply relate to exactly where you are. They might not be able to relate to where you are now, but where you were, I should say,
Yes.
they can relate to that for sure.
Yeah. It took where where I was physically back then, it took a lot of contemplation and questioning and searching and speaking with other people, right? So it's always
Mhm.
beautiful for us to have mentors and those that have walked the path before us, right? That
Mhm.
have done this, that have like quit their jobs and traveled to find themselves. And I'd be like, okay, well, is it okay? Is it safe out there? Like, what do you do? Like,
Yeah.
where do you go? How do you do it? And then that continued to give me comfort in taking that step, in being educated enough to be like, okay, so I need a little bit of money saved up, and I just need, a one-way ticket to somewhere, and these are the things that I should pack to take with me, right?
Mhm.
If we're talking about like from a logistical perspective. And then emotionally, what I was going through during that time was, the unknown was scary. To step
Mhm.
outside of what I had been conditioned to do for 27 years was very scary. But it felt like it was more scary to stay where I was. I knew that I was
Mhm.
not going to survive. Like there was
Yeah.
no way. And that was the driving force. It was like, I don't know what's waiting for me out there. But all I
Mhm.
know is that I can no longer stay here.
Right.
And that was it. Once you get to that point, right? Like,
Right.
so I took off. I booked a one-way ticket to Cuba with one backpack, and I said, all right, like off we go. And then life happened. So
Uh-huh.
this is the beauty when we let go of control and wanting to plan everything and wanting to know what is the next step. Where do I go? What do I do? When you let go of the structure and the routine and you allow yourself to flow. So letting go more of our like masculine qualities and really
Mhm.
stepping more into the feminine, right? The
Mhm.
feminine is about flow. She's about receiving. She's about her connection and her intuition. What guides me is my heart, right?
Mhm.
And I know that it will take me to where I need to go. May not be easy all the time, but it will get
Right.
me there, right? Like we know that.
Yes. I do
And
know that.
right. And then it was, meeting one person after the next, reading one book after the next, YouTube video, experience, conversation. And really, the next pivotal moment was maybe a month into my travels when I found myself in a small town in Mexico, oddly, where I'm sitting right now. Here I am
That's
seven,
crazy.
7 years later, right? And someone just happened to mention to me in Cuba, I met this beautiful German woman, and she said, "Hey, I'm going to a 10-day silent meditation retreat in Mexico next month." And I don't know why, but never meditated a day in my life.
Oh
Literally,
my
it was
gosh.
not
Uh-huh.
spiritual at all, like nothing.
Okay.
But my soul just knew, it was just like, oh, I want to go to that. I want to do that. I knew nothing about it, what it entailed, what it needed. I booked it and I went. And it was one of the toughest things I had
Mm.
done. But I left that retreat with a completely different perspective on life because I was very
Mhm.
tunnel visioned of this is how you do life and this is what it needs to be. And you always have to get up in the morning and know and have something to do and this and this and that. And all of a sudden it was like, I'm I'm free. Like I'm actually free.
Mm.
I can get up in the morning and I can decide. I don't have to know. I can allow life to guide me. There's more than one religion. There's more than one way of being. There are 1,000 different ways to make money. It's okay to not have a consistent paycheck, really just a completely different paradigm shift than where I was living of, hey, can you just take time off and just do nothing? Like, and you be okay with that,
Mhm.
not feel guilty. And I decided to then travel and explore because when I left in New York, I still had the intention of wanting to grow my travel and food blog, which I enjoyed and it was fun and
Okay.
I was doing it. But then I came into the truth of truly what I want to do is nothing.
Mm.
Me wanting to continue with the blog was just an attempt to continue to attach to the old life. Just give me
The
anything that
conformity.
just gives me a purpose and something to do every day, right? And it's like, what if you let go of it all? Like all of who you thought you were and
Mhm.
just went for it. And that's what it was. And then just it started, and I kept coming back to meditating and going inward and coming back to the retreats and reading a lot of the spiritual books and started to get energy healing on myself. And life would just literally reveal itself to me. And then
Mhm.
I would know, oh, this is the next thing I need to go to. This is the next country. This is the next retreat I want to do. Oh, wait, I'm having all these feelings come up around like my abandonment wound. Okay, well, this is the next thing that needs to heal. And then you do it that way. And within that, you build trust. You build trust in yourself. You build trust in your intuition. You build trust
Mhm.
in, God, goddess, source, universe, that the higher intelligence that is
Yep.
guiding you, right?
Yep.
And the more you surrender and allow, the more then who you really are continues to unravel and reveal itself to you because you took the time to listen. And that's
Mhm.
what's powerful about meditation. Meditation is not about doing anything, it's taking the time to listen. That's it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Your story is so awesome. One of the things I was going to ask you was, so like when you decided, okay, I'm going to start working towards um leaving the New York life and my corporate career and all this very conforming traditional lifestyle values, beliefs, perspective, all of it, right? Well, maybe you didn't really know that you were going to leave all that behind. Did you? Or did you just think, like, I just know I need to go kind of explore and figure myself out? Or were you like, I am tired of all of this?
I didn't know. I really
Yeah.
didn't know what I was leaving behind. I didn't know what I was taking with me. I just knew that I needed to go. Like I just
Right.
needed to get up and go. And then within that, things get revealed. You're like, well, do I actually have beliefs? Do I have values? Because I feel like I've I have an operating system of
Mhm.
beliefs and values,
Right.
but it's actually not mine.
Right.
And that
I've
took years
adopted other
to unravel.
people's, right, and
That's it.
societies
Right.
and
Yeah.
cultures' beliefs and values, but are
Yeah.
they mine?
That's it. So you think you left all these things behind, but really you left nothing. There was
Yeah.
nothing. Nothing. None of it was ever yours to leave behind.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. You're right. You're right. I'm so glad you phrased it that way because I do think that there's a lot of people that, one of my specialties is grief, right? And so I always
Mhm.
tell people like grief comes from more than just death. Grief comes when we lose anything that we have identified as part of our self concept.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, like, as I was listening to you just now, and you saying about we weren't really leaving anything behind because it was never ours to begin with, I think that is beautiful and 100% true, and something that enough people don't say. So, I love that you said that. And there is a grieving process that goes through that because, as you've already mentioned, there becomes this void in this vacancy where, like, okay, that's not mine. And I put this down, but what the hell is going to come in? What is in place of that?
Yes. This is so juicy. Like, I love where this is going. I love that you're bringing up grief. I love that you're bringing up the void. This is so good. I
Yeah.
actually just filmed a video on grief yesterday and put it on TikTok because boy, did I process a lot of grief. Right.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
grief is around to me. And I feel like grief is something that we need to name more often and to give voice to more often and to
Mhm.
really acknowledge because a lot of people process it, but they don't realize that they're processing it because exactly what you said, we think it only happens when someone dies. No, it's when there's a perceived loss that
Mhm.
something was in my life and then now it no longer is. And I
Mhm.
attached so much of myself, of my identity, of my sense of safety, security, worth to it that when it leaves, I feel like that also has left me. That is now
Mhm.
gone. So now there's like this emptiness and you don't know what to fill it with. So it's like almost like a grasping of like we want it back. We can't fathom that this thing has left me. But what I have learned is that nothing is permanent.
Mm.
Nothing is forever. And this is if we're talking in the physical realm, if we're talking in the spiritual, the energetics, right? Nothing is permanent. It's our perception as humans that something or some things are forever that causes the grief and the pain, and the sadness and the suffering. But if we
Mhm.
look at everything as an exchange, things come into our lives to give us something, to create an experience, to teach us something that we need to learn for our soul's evolution. And
Mhm.
once you've learned that lesson, guess what? This thing no longer actually needs to be there.
Mhm.
So my thing is celebrate when things have walked out of your life because that means, friend, you've passed the test. You've
Yeah.
graduated. You've
Yeah.
graduated, right? It's time to like rise up to the next level because that thing it just no longer has anything to teach you anymore. You've taught it what it needs to learn. It taught you what it needs to learn. And in order for us to step into that next phase of expansion, that next evolution, right? Like that higher frequency, you have to fully let the thing go. Because what happens is that it gets energetically, things get reversed. It's everything is cyclical and everything is energy. So that thing is going to come back to you, that person, that job, the opportunity, that nothing is ever lost. There is really no such thing as lost. There's a circle of life where things get born and die, born and die, born and die. That thing is going to come back in a different shape, in a different form, right? To give you what you then need to get. But in order to receive the next thing, then you have to let the first thing fully go so that it can complete its rebirthing process. And
Mm-hmm.
in the meantime, we have the void, right? Because you clear
Mm-hmm.
space and you do have to sit in the unknown because there has to be integration. There has to
Yeah.
be integration of the impact and reflection. And yes, part of that is processing emotion and part of that is sadness. And that's perfectly, perfectly okay as well. We have to honor that. But it's a very different process and a way of being when you're getting lost in
Mm-hmm.
the emotions and you're identifying with them versus when you're processing the emotions from a place of presence and awareness and understanding what is going on and being able to rise above it. So giving it the time it needs, but then also anchoring in this new frequency of, okay, and it happened because of this. Everything happens to support me. Everything happens for my highest and my best good. And I process the emotions, but also keep myself open, keep that space open because it's important that we don't contract and close, right?
Mm-hmm.
To
Mm-hmm.
for the next thing to come
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
be in that observer mode.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key.
Yeah.
But obviously, you weren't there because you said you weren't even meditating when you left a job and started on this journey. So I imagine, though, I mean, did you experience? I imagine you would have. I've certainly have multiple times experienced really like a dark night of the soul where that void and that uncertainty and not having all that you know now, you know, practices and your spiritual awareness and all that, without having that at the beginning, were you in a really lost feeling kind of, dark place at the time?
Yeah. 100% for
Yeah.
years. I mean, it wasn't one dark night of the soul. It was like multiple nights of the
Yeah.
soul.
Yeah.
And it's like as soon as you rise from one, sometimes it felt like the next one just hit you, So I wasn't always able to rise above it and speak from
Right.
this place of wisdom. And I still will get pushed down because there are levels to
Yeah.
everything, right? There are
Yeah.
just levels to everything. And I just did the best I could. And I kept anchoring. I feel what kept me going is kept anchoring in my spiritual practice
Mhm.
once I started to have one, right?
Mhm.
Because that brings you back to hope, to support, to there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Like this is
Mhm.
not, even though sometimes when you're processing these really deep things, it just feels like this is the end of you, like you're
Yeah, it
done. There's
does.
like
And it is
really
to a
there's
certain degree.
nothing else. And you're like, I'm in a foreign country. What am I doing? I'm all alone. I have no money. I'm not feeling well. And then you can go into I've gone into regret, so many times like,
Yeah.
what did I do? Is this really what I'm doing? But this is the transition period from purging, because it is a purge,
Mm.
detoxing
Mhm.
all those old beliefs, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then you have, in a way, you do have to feel them to let them go.
Mhm.
And then only when you really felt them and processed them, and then the universe will show you like bit by bit, like, yeah, but that's not you. But that may have happened in the past, but that doesn't have to happen now because you can
Mhm.
choose to
Mhm.
be different. You can choose to have a different reality. You can choose to look at what's working, right? I can choose to say, you know what? But I have my freedom, but I don't have to go to work today. But it's Monday morning and I'm just hanging out by the pool. And like, that's a good life. So, what is it within me that says I need to be working right now?
Mhm. Mhm.
If I have money in the bank, I'm okay. Why am I sitting here trying to make more money? Can I trust that the money will come when it's meant to in the way that it's aligned? in. So the pain gets so painful that you don't have a choice but to adopt something else. Because you're like, if I keep following these thoughts, like I'm just going to keep spiraling downwards. So what if I believed differently? What if I acted differently? What if I chose to trust this time instead of buying into fear and regret and what if, to say, you know what? I'm going to try surrender for a day. I'm just going to try to really be present, to enjoy today, to sit and just enjoy the water in this pool. And I'm going to order an amazing lunch and I'm just going to treat myself and not act from scarcity and how much money I have in the bank and all of that. And slowly, slowly, things shift. You learn different tools, you learn different resources, and the universe always provides. But it's really, it takes determination. You
Mm,
have to want a different life. You have to want to really know yourself, to get to the truth, to go beyond who you think you are. That was the desire for me. It was like that desire of like, I know this is not it. I know this is not it. I know there is
mhm.
more to why I came here. And there's a part of me, I'm an Aries, so I'm very like,
Me
like
too. Me
you're
too.
an Aries.
I am. I am. I'm Aries
Like,
too.
yes, like I was not gonna stop until I found it. I'm like, no, like this can't be it. This can't be it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know
Mhm,
where I was going, how I was gonna get there. But again, it's that like, I know there's more. I know there's more. And here we are. There is
mhm,
more. And there is so much more, even from where I am standing right now. Right. But it's like,
mhm,
do we have enough courage to keep going?
mhm. Yeah. And part of the reason why I brought it up was because intuitively I felt like there's going to be people that really needed to hear that this journey was not a freaking picnic, that there was darkness in it, there was a loss in it, that it was really hard. Because I think sometimes, especially when we do hit a place where, in particular, for those of us that are like spiritual and healers and that kind of work,
Yeah.
um, you know, people are like, "Oh, yeah, sure, that's easy for you to say, you're sitting over there loving it on spirit all day long," like, but maybe we don't all talk enough about the fact that it was really fucking hard. Like, it wasn't just hard, it was really fucking hard at times. And I think what's really valuable and probably just as valuable as anything else is for you to be able to share with people, like, you talk about building up that trust. You talk about being able to say, "I'm just taking Monday off." I mean, what do you even have any way to frame up for somebody listening who's like, "I cannot imagine that I'm gonna run my own business and take Mondays off?" Like, what would you say to that person? Like, how do you even what kind of advice would you give them for, like, that starting process? Because honestly, I still have times where revert back into those old ways of being like, "Oh, you have to be doing something towards your business every day." And then I tell myself now, because I have a good enough handle on it and awareness on it, like, "No, actually, according to my true belief system and why I'm doing this, I actually can have this be easy and I can attract in, and my business and spirit is working on behalf of my business to bring me the people that I can help and guide every single day. I don't got to do shit for it." Right.
Yeah,
But
that's
where
it.
did
And
you start with that? Because like I said, I don't even.
yeah, it's hard to know. Like this took a lot of practice. It took a
Mm,
lot of practice, and I still have residual,
sure.
energy around it. And I will be honest, I've learned, and maybe this varies person to person a bit, but
Sure.
I feel like this needs to be spoken to give people permission in case they go through
Mm-hmm.
it the
Agree.
way I did, right? A lot of times, in order for us to shift and make big shifts, it's going from one extreme to the next. It's the pendulum swing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I feel like that's what happened with me. largely, and that I went from, corporate structure, schedule, all these things, and then to a space where all of a sudden I gave myself permission to do none of it. Like
Mm.
like none of it. Because once I quit my job, I mean, there was nothing to do. And then I quit my blog, right? So that had to be it for me, to just be like, I don't, even if I wanted to do something right now, I don't have anything to do. And then I started to pick up like, oh, small volunteer things, or creating just like fun jobs. I was like an au pair in Italy and lived with an Italian family and like taught their kids like English. And then I like went back to New York for a couple of months and worked at on the streets of New York selling dumplings because my friend wanted to open up a dumpling pop-up shop. And I did a gig with like a travel company where I took students abroad to like volunteer, right? So then it comes from a place of like passion and trying new things, but I had to swing completely the opposite way.
Mm.
And then I decided to start a business. I invested in an Airbnb, and that took up a lot of time and energy and like gave me that thing to do and gave me the financial stability, right? But then my
Mm-hmm.
stress level skyrocketed again.
Mm.
And I started to go into these really deep, intense burnout cycles of I got conditioned to like work really, really hard and
Mm-hmm.
overwork myself to the core, like to until I had nothing left. I was depleted.
Mm-hmm.
And then not have a choice but to lay in bed for a month
Mm-hmm.
because there was nothing left in me that could function as a human
Mm-hmm.
being.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized that I was going through these highs and these lows, right? And I started to understand that, hey, there's another way of doing life. There's a balance. What if you didn't overwork yourself and worked 40, 50, 60, 90 hours a week? Because I realized that was still my conditioning from corporate,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, but I
Mm-hmm.
had to completely do nothing. So I kept swinging. It was a swing. It was this dance between doing everything and doing nothing. And then, when I was doing everything, I was tired, but I was afraid to stop the momentum because what if it didn't get back? And when I was doing nothing, it was afraid. It was just like it was a little tricky. Um, but you get to a balance of you learn to do from a place of being, and you
Mm.
anchor back into the intuition, and you anchor back into the trust of, if it doesn't feel like I'm meant to be working on this project today, if it's not coming from a place of ease and flow, maybe there's a higher intelligence, maybe there's something that's saying today is just not the day to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you think you need to send that email today because they're waiting for it and you're a day late, and then the deadlines and the things and the
Mm-hmm.
contracts and,
Mm-hmm.
right, that's what it like, it has to happen now. It's like, but who's in my head telling me that, you
Yeah.
know? Who am
Yeah.
I a slave to in this moment? Versus what if you send it tomorrow and maybe it is 2 days late, but it hits in their inbox when they are energetically more
Mm.
open
Mm-hmm.
and more receptive, and it's an immediate yes to whatever it is that you're offering. Versus
Mm-hmm.
if you had sent it on time 2 days ago, right? They were
Yeah.
energetically contracted and they
Yeah.
never opened the email.
Right.
That's a possibility. Things work like that in the universe. So we have to let go of control of thinking that it's my actions that make the world go round. False.
Correct.
That is the biggest belief that I would say you need to destroy. And this is where you need to go outside yourself and disidentify and just say, hey, there's a lot of other forces that are at play here to
Mm-hmm.
make things happen. It's not all me. We've learned to go into this like it's me. Like if I don't do it, it doesn't happen. If I don't do it, it doesn't happen. That's your lack of trust in something bigger than you that created you and created everyone and everything around
Mm-hmm.
you.
Mm-hmm. 100%. I super agree. I mean, and I feel like you said, like that could be the biggest unlearning. And I can't even tell you how many
Mhm.
times this week I've had conversations with people or clients where I've said to them, we are human beings. There is
Yeah.
nothing that you need to do. And I think in particular for people that are business owners, like you were saying, like we're taught like, well, I said you'd have the proposal in 48 hours. We're taught like from other people that are teachers and business people, like there's a customer experience and you should hit them this time and this time and this time. And it's all this like very organized, measured doing. But the reality of the situation is that we don't ever know what's going on in somebody else's world at that time that's gonna make them say yes to something or make them or maybe they're not ready to work with you, right? Or but spirit, God, universe, whatever you wanna call it, does know the exact right timing. And so if we learn to, like you were saying, listen to ourselves. And I always say too, like once you can start to identify how something is feeling, either physically in your body or emotionally to you, that's where your compass is. That's where you know that should be a yes for me right now. That should be a no for me right now. Like that is aligned with me. That is not aligned with me. Because our feelings will give us that.
Yes. And there are three things that I want to say to build on that, that
Yeah.
if I were to go back and give myself some advice on the
Yeah. Do
things to
that.
work on, right?
Yeah.
Like what I would tell myself to focus on. And the first one is nervous system regulation.
Mm,
That is the core and the foundation as to how we function as human beings in this world. And
mm,
I'm just going to go ahead and say that 100% of humans are dysregulated beyond the normal level. You're operating from fight, flight, freeze, fawn.
mhm,
You're not operating from peace and balance. This is why when you try to relax, when you try to take the day off, you can't. Your nervous system freaks out and thinks it's literally in danger. And it
mm,
starts to attack you back, like cracking the whip, being like, nope, you gotta go, you gotta do this, you gotta do that.
mhm,
So everyone should be looking at learning and getting support with regulating their nervous system.
mm,
And the second thing is root cause healing is so important.
mhm,
And this is why I do the work that I do in the way that I do. Because everything that's coming up for you, every emotion, right? Anything that's causing dis-ease
mhm,
is has a root. It has a root because we've gotten really good in society at putting band-aids on things.
mhm,
Band-aids on things. Oh, I'll take an ibuprofen. It's fine. Oh, the headache that keeps coming every other day, it's fine. Oh, I'll just go do this session. I'm just gonna go get a massage and it's gonna be good. And the aches are gonna go away, right? Like we just really these really good band-aids versus being like, my body is telling me something. My heart is telling me something. Nothing is a coincidence. Everything that
mhm,
happens is has a message for you. And when we don't listen, the universe turns up the volume. So we
mhm.
have to go to the root cause, even if you have a physical illness, right?
Yep.
Doctors are just now so bad at this. It's just like the band-aid, but like what started it? Because if organ after organ after organ keeps failing, we're obviously not treating the right thing here, right?
Exactly.
So root cause healing, go to the memory because there's always a memory, a situation that happened either in your childhood or in a past life where that started, where you contracted and the feeling of guilt, the feeling of shame, the feeling of I'm not good enough, the feeling of scarcity, whatever it is, was imprinted onto you as you
Mhm,
took it on subconsciously. So it's about going back and doing the work to rewrite that memory. This takes time. And this is another thing. If for anyone that's going to embark on this spiritual journey, on this healing journey, it is literally a resurrection of your true soul. So
mhm,
it's not a one and done. So consistency and commitment is what's really going to get you there because every time you knock on the door, you open one thing up, what it does is that it opens another thing up and
Mm-hmm.
another thing up. So like you said, spirituality and healing, it's not rainbow and butterflies. What we're doing is that we're taking in more light, we're bringing in more light, we're inviting in more light. But what the light does is that it beams the light on the shadow, on the
Mm-hmm.
darkness. So then the darkness is no longer in the light, it has to be seen. There is no more choice.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we go through these really tough moments and these breakdowns and like the dark night of the soul and all of that. So again, nervous system healing, root cause healing, and lastly, masculine and feminine polarities.
Mm-hmm.
That's another operating system, right? Because we are truly operating in a world that was mostly created and structured um, with by the masculine in a masculine
Mm-hmm.
way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
there's so much that I can say about that. And
I
then
know.
the women are trying to operate in this masculine way, but that's not you're going against your nature.
Yeah.
And you can only go so far. You can only
Yeah.
make it so far up the hill, up the wrong road,
Yes.
wearing the wrong shoes, right?
Yeah.
Before you tumble back down. So all this, oh, I need to be doing something. Oh, I gotta produce results, goals, money.
Action oriented.
And
Yeah.
the way we're doing it, this action oriented, that's all a way of the masculine. And the reason we're having
Yes.
to work much harder as human beings today than we need to is because we've lost the feminine. We have not invited the feminine in the way that we do things because she's the one that tunes in, that channels, that is more connected to source in the universe. And she says, okay, this is the next right aligned move. This is
Yeah.
what we're being called to do. This is when we do it. And then if you can just trust in that and then rest the
Yeah.
rest of your day, right? Versus running around the hamster wheel, doing. And it's just like, what are you actually producing? I
Yeah.
feel like we do a lot more than what we need to. And once you're able to balance that, it's your masculine, your feminine, your giving, your receiving ability, your doing and your being ability,
Mm-hmm.
life changing. And I teach this also to my, business clients and corporate clients.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, okay, just we and even just introducing just the paradigm, they're like, oh wow, yes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. The light bulb goes off. It makes such a big difference. So those would be the three things that will really support somebody shift things. Even if you don't have the means right now to quit your job and travel the world, or,
Right.
that was my way. That was my way, right?
Right.
But start to take small action steps to really connecting with who you are and your truth and realigning your soul.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Oh my gosh. And I'm gonna have to have you back so we can dig into the masculine feminine thing because
Yes.
I mean, I love everything you say because I'm super with you. Like that is exactly what I believe. It's exactly what I try and foster and encourage and develop in people for them also. And the masculine feminine thing was pretty substantial shift for me also. In it, especially because my prior professional experience was largely all in strictly masculine, not just masculine majority. Like I was the only woman in construction and real estate development 20 years ago, right? Like there's been the I was in these industries. And so much I think of the idea of women, the initial sort of women's empowerment movement, even from the 60s and 70s, really was women adopting masculine traits, masculine aspects, masculine behaviors to make ourselves feel a sense of power, not be empowered. And that's the massive difference. So you and I are going to have to get into that at some point.
Yes, I
Sure.
love that. Yes,
Yeah.
I could say so much about that.
I
Let's please
know.
do another episode on it. It's such an
Yeah.
important topic to bring into people's awareness, especially
Yeah.
right now as we are in the state of balance, right? Because I talked about the pendulum
Yeah.
swing earlier of like
Right.
we were so masculine. And I feel like a lot of us that have embarked on this path, myself included, I became very feminine. I sat around and did nothing for a while, but I needed that. I needed
Hmm.
to detox from the masculine. But then you kind of get to a point where like, okay, well, like, yes, now I'm in my flow, I'm in my intuition and all of that, and it's good and life is good.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
also realistically, I live in a material realm, and there needs to be structure now and a job, but can I do it from the feminine to do things that I'm passionate about, to give myself flexibility in my work, because we need the masculine. The masculine, it's
Right.
not like you need both. It's the balance
Absolutely.
of
Yeah.
the two energies. That's the key.
Right. I agree so much. Let me just ask you as we get ready to wrap up here.
Okay.
You mentioned a lot in our talk today about learning to trust that guidance, to listen to it and trust that guidance. And so, I think that certainly something that I get asked a lot is people will say, like, well, how do you do that? How do you obviously listening can really come from meditation, and so if there's another answer for you besides meditation, that's what I'm looking for. Because I mean, so many of us are big proponents of meditation, and that is the listening process. But learning to trust it, I think, is a different learning to trust that internal guidance that you're getting, that way that you're feeling, and trust that you will be supported and taken care of. How would you recommend to anybody listening that's like, "But
Yes.
how?" What would you
That
say?
was such a big one for me. Honestly, I would
Mhm.
say that's probably my biggest wound in this lifetime that
Yeah,
I came here to
mine
heal,
too.
was
Yeah.
around trust. And I literally thought it was going to be impossible. I just did not see the way out.
Mhm. Mhm. I thought it was gonna be the death of me, like, literally, I thought it
Literally.
was gonna kill
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Literally, because it's, man, it's such a tough one when you come into the awareness of it. It's such a tough one to live with, because you really realize how much you're constantly on guard with everything, and you're thinking people are doing you wrong and they're it was just, when I became aware of it, I'm like, oh my God, I trust nothing and no one, not even myself. Like,
Mhm.
that's how deep, 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 deep it was. And truthfully, I tried so many things, but it wasn't until I got to the root cause
Mm.
that it started to, because it gave me the awareness, it gave me the understanding, and the root cause for me was in past lives. It wasn't
Mm.
even in childhood.
Mhm.
Of There was so much mistrust that had happened between the masculine and the feminine. My big mistrust with the masculine, that
Mhm.
the masculine had done me so wrong in other lives, and that I also, in incarnations where I was the masculine, I did the feminine wrong, which
Mm.
was an interesting, like,
Interesting.
twist, right? It was
Yeah.
such an interesting twist, and I was like, oh. So you start to understand that, like, we're all doing our best, because I did things that were not supportive for other people. I misused the feminine in past lives as well. And
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
started to understand that I was never able to forgive in past lives. So I
Mm.
carried this resentment lifetime after lifetime after lifetime of, like, no, the masculine is bad, it's wrong, it's this, it's that.
Mhm. Mhm.
To the point where at birth, I had an injury to my right shoulder, and I still have the injury to my right shoulder now, where I have limited mobility. I cannot
Really?
extend, or I cannot raise my right arm above my head. This is as far
Mhm.
as my right arm will go.
Mhm.
And what was shown to me is that it's the compounded energy of all those in me, because your right side of your body represents your masculine. So it was the right side that got this injury, and it was meant to show me that it's a compounded effect of all the resentment and the lack of forgiveness
Mhm.
that I did, because this is what happens. Everything is energetic first before it's physical.
Right.
So if we don't listen, right, the universe
Right.
turns up the volume. So it had to manifest for me in this lifetime in a physical injury that I've had all my life to listen. And that was my breaking point of, like, I choose to be free, because I want my shoulder to heal in this lifetime, and it will. And I have full trust, because I've been doing so much work around this,
Mhm.
that it will. And I'm like, and I'm not going to carry this into another lifetime. It stops now. So I did a lot of work with going back through my past lives and rewriting them and bringing in the forgiveness to
Mm-hmm.
that, to those
Mm-hmm.
situations. I did a lot of forgiveness in this lifetime to people that had done me wrong. I went back and I would, write letters or have conversations or whatever it is. I did a lot of forgiveness work on myself to forgive myself for everything that I held against myself. Because if you're
Mm-hmm.
constantly thinking that you're doing something wrong and you're in self-blame, why would you ever trust yourself to make a decision about
Mm-hmm.
anything? You're like, well, I'm gonna get it wrong. I'm gonna fuck up again, mess it up
That's
last time,
so,
right? Right. So it's like
yes.
the forgiveness, fostering forgiveness, fostering compassion, right? And then slowly, slowly, it started to unravel of like not being so hard on ourselves. It's like it's okay. It's okay if it didn't happen. It's okay if you got it wrong. It's okay that that person spoke to me in that way because we all have bad days.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of me sitting here assuming and being like, oh, they don't like me, this, I did something wrong and taking on all this energy, it's like, can I have a truthful conversation? Can we sit in a safe space, right? So
Mm-hmm.
communication is a big one. And just say, this is how I feel. This is what I perceived what you said.
Mm-hmm.
This hit me the wrong way energetically, and I choose not to hang on to that energy. So
Mm-hmm.
any situation in my life, this is the way I choose to operate. This is my number one value, is like always have the conversation. In any situation where something comes up and I feel like someone said something or did something and it's causing me any contraction of any sort, right? Doesn't matter if it's my fault, their fault, right, wrong. No, I'm gonna pick up that phone and I'm going to say, are you open to having a conversation about this? And 100% of the time, once you talk it through and you hear their perspective and your perspective, it clears because you're like, oh, this, they're like, oh my God, I didn't realize that you took it this way or it hurt you, or like that this is your background, or that this
Mm-hmm.
affected you in this way. And then you start to trust in people again, trust in yourself again, trust in yourself to protect yourself and advocate for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
to say this wasn't supportive for me, but I know what to do to like right that wrong. And you
Mm-hmm.
take that action, right? So I know this is like a really long answer to the question,
Yeah.
but that's just I channel, and this is really
Yeah.
all that is coming through. And this is what I mean by when we start to do the work, you open one door and it leads you to the next. You're like, oh, wait, trust is tied to, oh, there's forgiveness. Oh, there's compassion. Oh, there's inner critic. Oh,
Right.
there's this.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
there's
Right.
that. And step by step, now I'm in a completely different space with trust. But
Yeah.
that took a couple of years of like
Yeah.
really, 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 really going at it. So keep going. Trust the process, because I know sometimes it's really hard because you feel like, oh, I've been working on this thing for a really long time and I'm not moving the needle and I still
Mm-hmm.
don't trust people. And yes, but as long as you're taking, just small actions towards the thing. Big things don't just happen. A building doesn't just manifest. It takes
Right.
time, right? You have to hire the right people and get the right equipment and build the foundation and draw up the plans and get the licensing and turn on the lights and paint the walls. And then it becomes this big, beautiful house or building or whatever it is that you're creating. And
Right.
so are humans, right? So are humans. So it's a building process. You're look at it as, oh, I'm building myself, I'm creating, I'm recreating myself,
Mm-hmm.
and just allow it to be.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you shared all that because, I mean, none of it was not true. And I think all of it needed to be said and heard. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. Um, Obviously, this is what you help people with. This is what you do. This is your love and your passion and your purpose here. So tell everyone how they can find you, follow you, connect with you, learn about how you might be able to help them on this journey.
Yeah. So KrystalLynn Star is my Instagram. I post a lot of supportive free content on there. Also, KrystalLynnStar@gmail.com is where you can reach me. And this has now become my life's purpose, is to take people and truly transform them, give them their power back. Actually, I'm not giving them anything, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
just opening the door. I am guiding them to their truth, to
Mm-hmm.
who they really are, to reconnect to that sense of self within you so that you're not seeking anything outside of you. And really, my true gift as a channel is I connect directly to people's souls. I see their energetic blueprints. So when you work with me, we're able to accomplish a lot really deep, really quickly. A lot of people say, oh, one session with you is like 3 to 4 with another person because we
Mm-hmm.
get to the root cause. And your true purpose, your true gifts are underneath the pain.
Mm-hmm.
They're underneath the trauma. So once we reveal that, my gift is to open up other
Yes.
people's gifts. And then I guide you on really how to use them and birth them into this lifetime. I'm passionate about working with women, but I work with both women and men, and I lead
Mm-hmm.
beautiful retreats and spiritual pilgrimages to Egypt, which is where I'm from, that they're really these soul awakening journey of reclaiming all these past gifts that you have and
Yes.
really fully stepping into your truth and who you came here to.
Well, again, thank you so, so much. I cannot thank you enough for being here. I can't wait to have you again,
Yes.
so we could dig into something else next time. And to all the sojourners out there listening, thank you so much for coming on our journey today. We hope that you'll continue to stay with us and join us in the next episode.